Now let's bring in Congressman Guy Rushenthaler of Pennsylvania, a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, great to have you. Now,
Susan,
Iran's still denying the fact that it may have been one of their surface-to-air anti-aircraft missiles, and they're refusing to hand over the black boxes. But as you hear from the Pentagon and also the Canadian Prime Minister today, various intelligence sources say that Iran may have inadvertently shot down the plane.
Right, which is, I don't want to speculate, but this shows you what we're dealing with, and that is a country that is not good at symmetric warfare. They might be good at asymmetric warfare with terrorism, planting roadside bombs, storming embassies through the guise of Shia militia groups. But when it comes to an actual battle with the United States, this just shows you how unprepared they would be and the kind of force we're dealing with, again, with a symmetric battle.
And what do you think of the Democrats' reaction? Because tonight on the House floor, they just passed this non-binding, mostly symbolic war powers resolution that would limit what President Trump can do further with Iran without congressional approval.
I think this is absolutely disgusting. You know, I heard some people saying that this is a quote-unquote nothing burger. This is absolutely not. It might be non-binding, but it emboldens the Iranians. We're at a time where we're finally holding the Iranians accountable for their transgressions, for them not joining the family of nations. Yet we just had a group of Democrats that chose to embolden Iran. They chose to stand with their far left radical base rather than standing up against the Iranians.
Well, that's exactly what some people have called a press conference that took place yesterday. Let me get your thoughts on your take on fellow member of Congress, Minnesota's Democrat Ilhan Omar, saying that the conflict with Iran triggered her PTSD. Listen.
I feel ill a little bit because of everything that is taking place, and I think every time I hear about conversations around war, I find myself being stricken with PTSD, and I find peace knowing that I serve with great advocates for peace and people who have shown courage against war.
So there was some controversy surrounding the statements, but Omar was referencing her youth in war-torn Somalia. But if you were in Tehran looking at this and this break in unity in the U.S., what would you think?
Well, it emboldens the Iranians for sure, but the irony here and the hypocrisy is the fact that everything the Representative Omar was talking about is exactly what Soleimani stood for. This is a man who spread terror, spread chaos all through the Middle East. He's someone who backed the Houthi rebels in Yemen as they overthrew that government. He spread chaos all through Syria. He funds Hezbollah, Hamas. So think about, and he also backed Shia militia groups in Iraq that planted roadside bombs on our U.S. service members. So when it comes to PTSD, when it comes to terror, when it comes to the refugee issues, so much of that was spread by Soleimani himself. And finally, President Trump took bold action, and he prevented the exact kind of situations that Representative Omar is talking about. So that's the irony. And just one more thing about Representative Omar. You know, she is standing against further sanctions on Iran. Yet at the same time, she supports the boycott, sanction, and divest movement on the state of Israel. So that shows you where the Democrats' foreign policy is. This is a party that's moved radically to the left. They're in control of the social justice warrior elements of their conference. And again, when it comes to foreign policy, they oppose sanctions on Iran. They oppose sanctions on Iran, yet support it on the state of Israel. It shows you how far left they've gone.
Well, Nikki Haley, the former ambassador to the UN, says the only people that are mourning Soleimani's death are the Democrats. So let's talk quickly about misinformation, because I want to show our audience the propaganda that's being played out in Iran and about how Soleimani was viewed by the people there, because we did see video of huge crowds surrounding his funeral. There was a stampede in one of the cities. But he was not kind to some of his own people. Some say he was responsible for murdering thousands. What do you make of this?
Well, we have to remember, this is a regime that stands against democracy. It stands against the West, and they brutally put down those who stand up for democracy and moving this to a more Western-style government in Iran. Just a few weeks ago, there were uprisings in Iran, and again, those were brutally put down. This is a country where it's hard to get a cab that has air conditioning. Yet just moments after Soleimani's death, hours after his death, there were huge posters that were printed of this man. So this is what we in politics would call an astroturf movement, meaning it's a fake grassroots movement. This is propaganda from the Iranian regime.
Okay, Congressman, I would say that analogy is apropos. Great to see you, and thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me on. Thank you,
Next
Susan.
up,